if you humble yourself before Satoshi and you recognize the brilliance of digital capital, and you recognize the fact that this is inevitably going to go from $1 trillion to 10 trillion to 20 trillion to 40 trillion to 80 trillion to 160 trillion. Nothing stops this train, right? Nothing stops this train. What I've done is I cranked in my assumptions and I have presented my base case and in Nashville. And my base case is Bitcoin goes to 13 million a coin, and it's the ARR of 29% ARR over 21 years.
Bitcoin is set to soar from $1 trillion market to $160 trillion, with its price potentially skyrocketing to an incredible $13 million per coin. That's the latest word out from Michael Saylor, Executive Chairman of MicroStrategy. In a recent podcast, Michael Saylor gave a powerful, straightforward take on Bitcoin's future, and it's clear he's incredibly confident about where things are headed. Saylor said he believes Bitcoin's potential to grow to $13 million per coin by 2045 is entirely within reach, given its track record and built-in scarcity. Saylor calls Bitcoin a rationality virus that's set to upend finance. He expects it to take up a significant 7% share of global wealth, with a spot Bitcoin ETF acting as a massive accelerant. He describes the ETF's potential impact as the biggest Wall Street development since the S&P 500 index, predicting it would allow everyday investors to jump on board with Bitcoin easily. Combine that with the next Bitcoin halving, and Saylor sees a perfect storm of demand that will drive up Bitcoin's value dramatically. Make sure to stick around until the end of the video as Michael Saylor reveals more details about his prediction. But before that, today's video is brought to you by Crypto.com. If you still haven't got a crypto card yet, you're living in the past. Traditional cards have annual fees and transaction charges, but the Crypto.com Visa card doesn't. You can spend your crypto anywhere, and the benefits are amazing. With your Crypto.com Visa card, earn up to 5% back in CRO rewards on every transaction. Enjoy 100% cashback on Spotify, Netflix, and Amazon as a new customer for 6 months. Get complimentary access to airport lounges with a sleek metal card. Crypto.com is giving a $25 sign-up bonus for Jamie Tree viewers. Here's how to get your $25 bonus and start earning up to 5% back. Download the Crypto.com app via the first link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. Sign up using our referral code nutty for an instant $25 bonus. After approval, here's how to get your Crypto.com card. In the Crypto.com app, first tap the Card tab on the navigation panel. Select your card tier based on the required CRO staking amount. I have a Ruby Red card. You need to lock up 400 USD of CRO for 180 days, which is then unlocked. Accept terms and conditions and ensure you have sufficient CRO in your wallet for the stake period. Then, submit your delivery address. You'll then receive your Crypto.com Visa card, start making transactions, earning rewards, and enjoying the perks. To claim your $25 bonus and earn up to 5% back on transactions, click the first link in the description to get started with Crypto.com today. Now back to the video.
Bitcoin is digital capital. So it's the transformation of financial and physical capital to digital capital. And that's not complicated. That's a very simple idea if you just say it like that. But the implication is it's also driving the digital transformation of the capital markets. So the capital markets are fragmented, right? The bond market trades in Japan at different times than the bonds trading in Germany, and then the bonds trading in Brazil, then the bonds trading in the US. And the equity market, right? Our existing capital markets are built around equity and debt, and there's some derivatives, right? Equity, debt, and derivatives, and they trade 9:30 to 4 Monday through Friday, and they don't trade on the weekends, or they don't trade on holidays. And they're all fragmented, and they're limited in access. So the implication of somebody being able to trade in a capital market in Australia on Saturday and having an impact someone in the United States, 12 hours off on the time zone or something, that's interesting. So a real-time 24/7 global capital market is interesting. And up until now, it has been, again, it was 0.01% of the money in the world, when it was 6,000 or 7,000 a coin. And now it's 0.1% of the money in the world. And so it is a global digital capital market, but it's still de minimis in amount of capital. And so I think that as you see bigger players come into the marketplace and it gets to be 1% of the capital of the world, now you're going to have the tension of the 20th century. The 20th century capital markets, they're fragile. They're limited to a certain set of people. There are very limited settlement options. They're slow. They're not smart. You can't trade Apple stock 100,000 times on a Saturday afternoon, right? You can't vibrate it at a high frequency. You don't have you can't self-custody. You can't program it, right? So the capital that's in the traditional markets, it's not programmable. It's slow. It's fragile. And the capital in the 21st century, it's going to be smarter, faster, stronger. And so the interesting opportunity is what happens when the investment bankers and the commercial bankers and the money managers realize that digital capital is smarter, faster, stronger, universal, right? Because it has a lot of implications, right? Like there's 50,000 publicly traded companies, and how many of them are capitalized on Bitcoin? How many of them are capitalized on bonds? So 99.99% of the corporate capital is financial capital, which is fragile, fragmented, right? And defective. What I think is Bitcoin is the risk-free return for a Bitcoin maximalist. So just start there, right? Bitcoin is the risk-free return. And the question is, do you want to take risk or not? Satoshi created digital capital. Digital capital is worth hundreds of trillions of dollars. $400 trillion by my last estimate. Somebody's already invented a better idea than you think you're smart enough to come up with a better idea than $450 trillion idea? Like, what's the second best idea, right? Right? The point is there is no second best idea, right? There's an idea. It's called Bitcoin. It's digital capital. Okay, so you've got the best idea and you're a business person. And if you humble yourself before Satoshi and you recognize the brilliance of digital capital and you recognize the fact that this is inevitably going to go from $1 trillion to 10 trillion to 20 trillion to 40 trillion to 80 trillion to 160 trillion. It's that nothing stops this train, right? Nothing stops this train. Once you recognize that, you're a VC investor. What do? You invest in private companies, put them on the Bitcoin standard, take them public, and they strengthen the Bitcoin system, and then they draft off the Bitcoin network, right? You're a private equity investor. You find big private companies, you invest in them, you recapitalize them with Bitcoin, you take them public. You're an investment banker. What do? You don't negotiate 1,000 complicated mergers between 1,000 different counterparties or how many different pairs? 1,000 companies and 1,000 options each. So it's 1,000 times 1,000 combinations, and you can solve all of the combinations because you're brilliant. Or you just merge 1,000 companies with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a universal merger partner. Okay, I got 1,000 zombie companies at the bottom of the Russell 2000. How do you fix them? Recapitalize them on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the universal merger partner. Okay, but I need to come up with a new idea. No, you don't. Satoshi already came up with the idea. right? Everybody wants to come up with a new idea. Well, I got a company, I got to grow my company. Oh, is your company going to grow faster than 29% a year with no cost, risk-free for the next 21 years? You have a better idea than that?
Even while many others are still hesitant or selling off their crypto holdings, investment giant BlackRock grabbed attention by purchasing a whopping $319 million worth of Bitcoin. But why? It's all for their upcoming Bitcoin exchange-traded fund. BlackRock is the largest asset manager in the world. When they make moves like this, it sends a message. A buy this big suggests they're betting Bitcoin has serious potential, especially as they prepare to bring it into the mainstream through their ETF. This can only mean good things for Bitcoin. It could attract more investors who were waiting for a sign that Bitcoin is here to stay. A giant like BlackRock doesn't invest lightly, so this could be a turning point in how traditional finance views cryptocurrency. Now let's go back to what Michael Saylor has to say.
So money still moves very slowly, and it has to pass this fragile network of correspondent banks that anybody can block the move. And you can't program it. Right. So I use this phrase, when you think about digital capital is invisible, right? It's intangible, it's immortal, right? It's indestructible. But while you're working through your bowls, like comparing it to a building, it's all those things. It's musical. And the musical is something to think about, right? Think about a symphony. Think about vibrating the strings of a guitar. Think about, energy, frequency, and vibration. And think about Mozart's or Beethoven's 7th Symphony or Beethoven's 9th Symphony. Think about what happens when you start to vibrate on various frequencies. And literally you hear it and it's beautiful. And then think about how fast you can vibrate a building. And think about how fast you can vibrate $1 billion block of Apple stock. And see, they don't play, right? They vibrate like a rock, right? You can't, right? The answer is you can't play that capital, right? You can't. But with digital capital, you can, on the base network, you can move it once an hour. That's actually comparatively high frequency compared to moving gold once a year, right? What, 8,760 hours a year? So 8,760 times faster than the fastest gold. Seems like high frequency. But really, when you put it on a layer 2 network, the real point is if I can settle on the underlying network, then when you put Coinbase against Binance as a counterparty, or you put Block against, set up layer 2 and layer 3 counterparties, they can move the stuff at 10 kilohertz on the weekend. And now you combine that with high speed trading has been a fixture in certain equity markets, but we've never had high speed global trading. And now we've got AI. And so if you actually created an AI and you said to the AI, I want you to go ahead and scan 100,000 possible counterparties that want to borrow the Bitcoin, assess the risk, and I want you to make the microloans, chop it up, send it to them, then fetch it back and optimize the yield or the risk return on that. I mean, it's quite likely that the AI is not going to make one decision per 3 years. But if you look at most corporations, they pick one custodian, they place their capital with the custodian, and they generate, if you have $10 billion of Apple stock, what do you think your yield is on it when you actually have it at a wirehouse? I mean, most people don't get any yield. For the most part, when's the last time someone paid you a yield on a $1 million block of stock? Occasionally, you could find someone who will offer you something, but generally, that's not a very competitive market. It's a very slow market. I would suggest to you that 99% of all equity investors have never been delivered any yield on any equity asset that they hold. And yet, except that if you hold government securities, if you hold the dollar, or you hold this favored capital asset, which we love, you would expect to get paid interest on that. But stop and think about it for a second. Why is it you get paid interest on $1 million of U.S. Treasuries, but you don't get paid interest on $1 million of Microsoft stock? And ask, well, by the way, couldn't I just take the Microsoft stock and give it to a big bank, and they could loan it out to someone that wants to short it and charge them SOFR, and they could split it with me? By the way, they do, right? They just don't give you any, right? Like these big custodians of equity, they do loan out your equity to short sellers, and they do get compensated. They're just not cutting you, the owner of the asset, in. Why not? It's not a competitive market. It's not a transparent market. You don't have the option to take self-custody, right? You can't shop, or you're not so easy to shop, right? And there are some people that like to topple that, but in a regulated marketplace, innovation goes 1,000 times slower. So back to your question, what's interesting, the formation of the global capital markets, right? Money moving at the speed of light, money vibrating at, 440 vibrations a second, right? Stuff happening smarter, faster, stronger, right? That's interesting to me. And I think that's where the opportunities are, right? If you're trying to make money, how do you make money? Well, you securitize Bitcoin, or you become a banker, an investment banker or a commercial banker of Bitcoin, or you create these radical new products that have Bitcoin embedded in them, right? Or for it. And those are all very interesting.
As Michael Saylor explained, Bitcoin is the risk-free return for those who believe in its long-term potential. For him, it's less a gamble and more a solid play against a shaky financial system. Combining this fact with an unstoppable momentum, Saylor argues that Bitcoin provides a straightforward choice. Stick with a volatile mix of traditional investments or go all in on Bitcoin, a digital asset built with inherent scarcity and unmatched growth potential. In his view, for those ready to adopt a future-focused mindset, Bitcoin isn't the risk, it's the safe play. For Bitcoin advocates, Saylor's message is clear. If you're willing to take the leap, Bitcoin might just be the only rational bet on a risk-free future. With all of that said, do you agree with Michael Saylor? Do you think Bitcoin truly is the best investment? Anyway guys, before we go, if you want to stay most up to date on the crypto and Bitcoin world, make sure to subscribe to my daily 5-minute crypto newsletter. It's a concise resource for the latest expert predictions, breaking news, and top-on-chain analysis, trusted by over 50,000 subscribers for insightful crypto investment information. Don't miss out on the opportunity to stay informed in the crypto market. The link is in the description below. I hope you all enjoyed today's video and that it provided you with some value. I'll see you all in the next one, and as always, all the best.